I tell you what, I know they feel a little crippled almost in that we're only letting them have 5 on the stage for a while. And as you know, they can pack this stage. And we have a plethora of talented musicians that are just, they're just in the wings. And they can put 2 people up here and sound phenomenal. God just takes their offering and he just multiplies it. It's phenomenal. For those of you joining us online, we are so glad that you are with us. And in this space, this very day, there is absolutely no room. In this space, there is none, no room at all, nor in your home. There's just no room for attitudes and deeds and thoughts and words that are Grinch-like. We just don't have room for Grinch-like actions. We don't, or at least we shouldn't. And so this morning, let's practice a non-Grinch-like event. Let's greet each other with a Merry Christmas, but you can't get out of your seat, so your bottom stays put. But I want you twisting and turning, and I want you waving. I want everyone to hear the words, Merry Christmas. Go to it. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Miss Rhonda. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Good to see you. You home for a little bit? Awesome. So those 2 words, Merry Christmas, they can just brighten someone's day. Those 2 words, they can lift a sad spirit. Those 2 words have power to do really good things unless you are speaking those 2 words to a Grinch. Because to a Grinch, anything merry makes them very frustrated. A Grinch doesn't want to hear Merry Christmas. As a matter of fact, a Grinch gets frustrated and angry when they hear those words. We are on part 4 of our movie series, and we are talking about the movie, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. But here's the thing. As the movie comes full circle, something amazing happens. The tiny little heart, the stony, stubborn heart of the Grinch is turned around. And he experiences this massive undertaking of authentic love and joy, and his heart grows because of that. So this amazing heart change, we're going to watch a clip. This is one of the longest clips we've ever watched. So it made my husband nervous. He thought we were playing the whole movie on Thursday night. We're not. It's 3.5 minutes, which for a clip in church is long because usually they're 30 to 40 seconds. So no, we're not watching the whole movie. Don't panic. But it is a long clip, but I want you to see what happens because it's totally contained. He starts here and he ends here. I want you to see it.
Welcome, Wahoo-Ramus. Welcome, Wahoo-Ramus. Christmas Day is in our grasp. So long as
but this sound wasn't sad. What? This sound sounded glad. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch with his Grinch feet, ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. He puzzled and puzzled till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. What happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say, that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And then, the true meaning of Christmas came through, and the Grinch found the strength of 10 Grinches, plus 2. And now that his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. With a smile in his soul, he descended Mount Crumpet, cheerily blowing hoo-hoo on his trumpet. He rode into Whoville, he brought back their toys, he brought back their floof to the Who girls and boys. He brought back their snoof and their tringlers and fuzzles, brought back their pantookas, their dafflers and wuzzles. He brought everything back, all the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. Welcome, Christmas. Bring your cheer. Cheer to all who's far and near. Christmas Day is in our grasp, so long as we have hands to clasp. Christmas Day will always be just as long as we have we. Welcome Christmas while we stand, heart to heart and hand in hand.
Welcome Christmas. So everyone in Whoville would have called the events of that particular day, they would have called it miraculous. They would have called it amazing. They witnessed a transformation and a change, huge transformation and change, as this stubborn, stony heart, which I love that because that's straight out of Scripture. When we're speaking of this heart that needs to be transformed and changed, those words come in that exact order. Stubborn, stony heart. And his stubborn, stony heart grew 3 times that day. And the reason that I love that story so much isn't because it was a great story to read to my kids when they were little. It isn't because it turned into an awesome cartoon. It's because of the authenticity of the reality that the reason this story came to be was out of necessity. It was out of necessity because it was written by 53-year-old Theodore Seuss Geisel. And Geisel is now known as our beloved Dr. Seuss. And on the morning of December the 26th of 1957, he was so weary from that particular Christmas season, and like a lot of us are about the commercialism and all of that, he was just, he thought Christmas no longer stood for what Christmas was supposed to stand for. And he said he stood in the mirror and he looked at himself and he realized he was a Christmas Grinch. He was a Christmas Grinch. And so later in the year, after this story has been written, he was interviewed by Redbook. And he said, something had gone wrong. And in the interview, he goes on to talk about how the something that he thought had gone wrong was with everyone else, was with the world and the way the world was approaching Christmas. Something had gone wrong, he said, and I realized it wasn't with Christmas, it was with me. And so I wrote that story about my 53-year-old, the Grinch happens to be 53, Geisel was 53 when he wrote this, about my 53-year-old Grinch friend, hoping that I could discover something about Christmas that I had obviously lost. You see, he could write about this grumpy green mountain dweller in detail, not just because he was writing a children's novel. He was good at that. He'd already written 60. No, he was speaking about his heart. He was speaking about the situation of his own heart. And so that's how this classic tale, how the Grinch stole Christmas, came to be. Because Geisel's heart needed a transformation. It needed to be restored and renewed. The thing is, I think every single one of us can relate to that. Every single one of us have felt frustrated about the commercialism of Christmas. And if we haven't felt that way, we know someone who does. And we've all experienced Grinch-like behavior in ourselves. We can identify a Grinch in someone else we're really good at this. This is an easy task. You know if you've got a Grinch-like neighbor. You know if you've got a Grinch-like coworker. You know if you've got a Grinch living in your house. You know we can identify the Grinch in others, but are we willing to identify that kind of unbecoming behavior, un-Christ-like behavior in ourselves? Geisel, as he's writing this story, he said he needed to be reminded. He needed to be reminded that Christmas wasn't about the ribbons and the presents. It wasn't about the celebrations and the party and the feast. It wasn't about the food. It wasn't about the decorations. So he wrote those words, and then the Grinch thought of something that he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. Maybe it's time for us to take a look in the mirror. Not pinpoint Grinch-like behavior in others around us, but maybe it's time that we stood before the mirror and we took a long look at ourselves. And we determine if our heart needs some transforming, if our heart needs some restoration, if our heart has been holding on to hurts and habits and hang-ups that are destructive, if our heart needs transformation, have we lost the reason, not just for Christmas Day, have we lost the reason for the entire Christmas Advent season? Psalm 51:10 says, "Create in me a clean heart, O God. Renew a loyal spirit within me." If you want that renewal, it comes from one source, and that's Jesus Christ. So when Whoville appeared to have Christmas robbed from them, Dr. Seuss used that as a moment to remind everyone in a very fun and easy format what the true meaning of Christmas was all about. Theodore Seuss Geisel grew up in a Christian home, and he was well aware of the truth. His parents took him to church every single week. He attended Oxford and Dartmouth for chapel services. And he said that going to church, well, it was never an option, it was mandatory. His parents took him to church so that as a child, he could learn the truth. Parents, there's a lot to learn in that. And so it goes without saying that he knew he had a head knowledge. But we're not talking about head knowledge today. We're not talking about how much do you know, because he knew the story. He knew that the angel came to visit Mary. He knew that the angel visited Joseph. He knew that they were given this message that you are to raise the Christ child, God in the flesh. This is your calling for your life. He understood what it meant to be called by God for a particular purpose. He knew the innkeeper's response to this young pregnant couple in need of lodging. He knew what happened at the birth of the Messiah. He knew about the Star of Bethlehem. He knew, he had a head knowledge of what the shepherds did, how they responded, how they then told everyone. They made this proclamation that the Messiah has been born, boldly declaring he knew all of that. He had a head knowledge about the Magi who traveled from afar bringing gold, frankincense, and myrrh. He had the head knowledge. But what I want you to get is that his heart had grown stony cold. Can happen to any of us. Even when we know that we know, we have to be well aware that the enemy will use all kinds of things to cause our heart to grow cold. And that's exactly what this whole message is about. You know, this particular season, this particular year, it seems like we're all in this boat of almost woe. You know, oh, this is just a horrible season. You know, just not like any other Christmas we've ever experienced. And I heard somebody say about that phrase, we're all in the same boat, so we're all experiencing the same thing. And that line goes on to say, we're not. We're not all in the same boat. We're all experiencing the exact same storm. The storm is the same worldwide. We are in a pandemic. We are all experiencing the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat. Because some people are in a boat filled with hope. Some people are in a boat filled with hate and anger and bitterness. We are not all in the same boat, but we are all experiencing the same storm. So how will we respond, especially this year to Christmas? How will we respond? How will we present ourselves to the world around us? Will we be in a Grinch-like boat? Or will we choose something different? We got to make sure we don't get in the wrong boat as we travel through this storm. Because, folks, the storm is here. That's not going to change. The only thing that can change is how you are going to approach the storm, how you're going to experience the storm. And it's high time we took a look at our life and we ask ourselves, have we become more Grinch-like than Christ-like? That's the question of the week. All week long, I want you asking yourself that. And you're going to have plenty of opportunity, because how the Grinch Stole Christmas seems to turn up on the television every single night. Last night, one of my granddaughters was over at the house, and she's 2. She said, I want to watch the Grinch. I want to watch the Grinch. And I told Mike, I've already paid $4 to pay-per-view the Grinch once this season. I don't want to do it again. So I started flipping through the channels, and there the Grinch was. It was great. Quite a reminder. Have I become more Grinch-like than Christ-like? You know, this is a bizarre season. It really is. This Christmas is like no other season any of us have ever experienced, and hopefully we will never experience another Christmas like this. It has been dominated by cancellations. I've never seen so many things canceled in all my life. I'm thankful that we remain a healthy church. I'm thankful that we're doing what we can do so that we can be together. If you've noticed, our chairs just keep getting further and further apart. We started off at 6 foot, then we went to 7 foot. We are now at 8.5 foot. Your rows are 8.5 foot. We are keeping you as safe as we can possibly keep you. Cancellations, limitations. This has been a season of sorrow. I was at the funeral home twice this week. Twice. I think I've seen more funerals and more death in the last 6 weeks than I have in 25 years of ministry. And fear. There are a lot of people who are just fearful this year. Fearful of the unknown. Fearful for their loved ones. Sadness. There is a heavy sadness like I have never seen before. And then you add all of that to what already we experience every Christmas season, and this is this looming artificial commercialism that frustrates a lot of us. So we have this commercialism, and it's not changed. It's exactly the same. But now we've poured into it all of these other things, all of these other stressors, and we can become Grinch-like without even recognizing that it is happening. And the enemy loves that. He loves when we've become Grinch-like. He loves when our witness has been flattened. He loves when we make a fool of ourselves. He loves when we let frustration and anger own us. We have the makings of a negative, depressed, mean, grumpy, Scrooge, cantankerous, ill-tempered person. And none of us want to reflect that. So we constantly need to be asking ourselves, what am I reflecting? Am I reflecting Christ this season? Not just because you have the head knowledge, because you have the heart. Open a Bible and we are going to look at page 712. We are turning to Ezekiel chapter 36, beginning with verse 22. And at this point in time, if to say that the nation of Israel, that they were in a really bad spot, they were. We think that our existence right now through this pandemic is horrible. This was horrible. They had been carted off as slaves. The Babylonian Empire came in, took over, took them from their homeland, took them from their families, their extended families, from their culture, from their language, from their food, from everything that they knew, and drug them off to a foreign land. So the entire nation has been enslaved. And the thing is, prior to their enslavement, God had sent Ezekiel, and he called Ezekiel the watchman. And he said, I'm gonna give you this title. This is who you are. You are a watchman for this nation. You watch this nation, and when you see that their actions have become Grinch-like, okay, he didn't say that. When you see that their hearts have become stony and cold, would you declare to them how important it is that they make a change? Would you proclaim and prophesy to them that if they do not make a change, that their enemies will come and take them, that they will be overthrown, they will be taken by their enemies if they do not make a heart change? And so Ezekiel was faithful. And Ezekiel proclaimed this, and the people, they did not like Ezekiel. They did not like the message. They didn't want to hear what Ezekiel continued to say. As God was working in Ezekiel's heart, but they just rejected the message. They rejected the messenger. And ultimately, because of their stony, cold, stubborn heart, They rejected God. And so everything that Ezekiel prophesies, it comes to pass. And they are carted off exactly as God said. And now they're in this foreign land, and now God speaks to Ezekiel again. And he says, Ezekiel, you are my watchman for this nation. Give this nation now a new message. Because now that they have experienced the consequence for their sin, now that they are in this place of torment, would you speak words of hope and encouragement to them? Would you tell them there is a way out? There is some truth that they need to hear. Tell them that they are loved. Tell them that I have a plan for them. And so that's exactly what Ezekiel does. And he tells them, if we will repent, there are good things to come if we have a heart change. Verse 22. And therefore, give the people of Israel this message from the sovereign Lord. I am bringing you back, but not because you deserve it. I am doing it to protect my holy name, on which you brought shame. Man, is that not sad? This season and all that we are experiencing, I think the saddest thing would be for God to look at us and to say those words, you brought shame upon my name. Christians, we cannot find ourselves in this situation just because a storm is raging. I'm doing it to protect my holy name, on which you brought shame while you were scattered among the nations. I will show how holy my great name is, the name upon which you brought shame among the nations. And when I reveal my holiness through you, hold your finger right there. God says, even though I know you have sinned, even though you've brought shame on my name, here's the deal. You are mine, and I love you. And my holiness is going to be revealed through you. That is just like a breath of fresh air. That God is going to continue to use us even if we have messed up. That if we turn and say, I recognize I have been wrong, he says that my holiness is going to be revealed through you before their very eyes. In other words, the world is watching. Christians, what is the world going to see when they look at us through this pandemic? It is our time to shine. I will reveal my holiness through you before their eyes, says the sovereign Lord. And then the nations will know that I am the Lord. People will come to Christ because we have had a heart transformation. People will come to Christ because we are living our lives for the Lord. I will gather you up from all of the nations. I will bring you home again to your land. Then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean. Your filth will be washed away, and you will no longer worship idols. I will give you a new heart. I will put in you a new spirit. I will take out your stony, stubborn heart and give you a tender, responsive heart. And I will put my spirit in you so that you will follow. Here's our responsibility. So that you will follow my decrees and be careful to obey my regulations. And you will live in Israel, the land that I gave your ancestors long ago. And you will be my people, and I will be your God. That message prophesied over 2,600 years ago. 2,600 years ago, the message hasn't changed. The importance of understanding we are his people and that he wants us to have a heart for him. that message also comes tied with the truth that there are consequences. There are consequences when we choose to live our lives in disobedience to God's perfect plan. No one would want to be drug off as a nation to a foreign land. We can't even fathom what that would be like. And yet, often, we behave just as poorly as the nation of Israel. But the exciting news, just as Ezekiel prophesied the truth, we have exciting news. We have this Jesus, the Messiah, the Christ child, and in him there is always hope. In Jesus, there is always forgiveness. In Jesus Christ, there is always the truth that he is willing and able to be our Savior, our Lord, our Messiah, to bring us to a place of restoration and renewal. But there is a responsibility. We must commit ourselves to live like he lived, to love like he loved, to forgive like he forgave, and to be with God the Father in the same manner that he was. Every morning we were told that he got up early. Why? To spend quiet time with God the Father. Why did he do that? I mean, he's God in the flesh. Why did he need to go connect with God the Father? Because he was showing us, giving us an example of what we're going to need so that we can be filled up, so that we can be restored, so that we can be renewed. We have to be God. That's who we are. We are his people, and we are to be living out the perfection of Christ before the world around us. Don't get tripped up by that word perfection. It simply means that we have gotten in the right boat. It simply means that the captain of the ship that we happen to be on, the boat that we have decided we want to sail in, well, the commander, what is a boat? A captain. The captain, it's Jesus. And so his perfection, his ability to maneuver through dangerous waters, all of his perfection we get to embrace. And so his perfection falls upon us. Why? Because of our obedience to live like he lived, loved like he loved, forgive the way he forgave, and to be with God the Father in the example that he left for us. And yet, as we look at our nation, this group of people called Christians, we see that there's a huge need for change, even among those who say they are Christians. The Barna Group is a group that does research in Christian organizations, and they took a poll at the end of 2019, pre-COVID. And the results sound horrible pre-COVID. And I'm guessing the results, if this poll were to be taken again, I'm guessing the results would be even worse when not what they reflected at the end of 2019. When asked what brings you Christmas fulfillment, and they explained this question, Christian fulfillment or Christmas fulfillment, in case somebody was not sure what it meant. What does Christmas mean? How do you fulfill being a part of this Christmas experience? And 72% of people, Christians, 72% of Christians said that the fulfillment for Christmas is all connected to family, being with family. Only 13% said that Christmas, the fulfillment of Christmas, is about connecting to Christ. 7% said it was about giving and receiving gifts. 5% said it was about going on vacation and relaxing. And 3% said it was about donating or serving. But here's the thing. As Christians, that 13% saying that Christmas is about connecting with Christ, that might sound discouraging, but instead of being discouraged, I would say, let's see the positive in this. It has been studied and turned over and examined and researched. How much does it take to influence a community? What does it take to turn the tide, to change an attitude? It only takes 11%. It only takes 11% of people on board to make a change within an entire community. Because when you have 11% on fire, it does miraculous and amazing things. So we got 13% of us saying Christmas is about Christ. And so instead of being negative in this area, and plus if you add the 3% who totally get that serving and giving are important, they get Matthew 7:12, that they get Luke 6:31 that says, do to others what you would want them to do unto you. This is the essence of all that is taught in the law and the prophets. So you add that 3% who Christmas is about giving and serving. They're making things happen with their dollars. You add that to the 13% who said it's about Christ. Well, that's 16%, and that's well above what it takes to turn the tide. We can do this. But we don't want to be a church of 72% who are saying that, Christmas is about getting together with my family. This year we can't even do that. Let's make Christmas about what it's supposed to be about. And let's make sure that we are becoming less like the Grinch and more like Christ. You want to live your best life ever? You want to live your best life ever? You be honest with yourself. Are you behaving more like a Grinch or more like Christ?